Okay, let's talk about the greenhouse effect and what it actually is. Let's start with the Earth. There we go. There's the Earth. You know it's the Earth because, well, it says Earth, and also I told you it's the Earth. So there we go. There's the Earth. Now, on the Earth, let's have a greenhouse. Now, this is also called a glass house. Some people say glass house, some people say a greenhouse. It's same. It's made of glass, so there you go, glass house. It's good for growing plants in. Plants are nice and green, so there you go, greenhouse. Right, now we need a sun. The sun is, of course, white in colour, but if I drew it white, you're not going to see it on this white background. So there you go, there's the sun. Let's illustrate the greenhouse effect. Okay, so first thing, the radiation that we get from the sun, the incoming radiation, we call it the insolation for the incoming solar radiation. So the insolation is fairly short wave. So let's draw that. Short. There we go, short wave radiation incoming from the sun. Now, that passes through the glass, no problem. The thing is, Earth absorbs that radiation and re-radiates it. Okay, so actually not all of that insolation reaches the surface, like 30% gets reflected off clouds in the atmosphere, things like that. But of the radiation, the insolation that reaches the Earth then re-emits. So if we have some more shortwave radiation, there we go, that gets absorbed by the Earth and it gets re-emitted, but the radiation that the Earth re-emits is actually longer wavelength. Let's draw it like that. That's actually much longer. There's not actually that much of a difference, but let's just say the difference is blown out of proportion, just so you can really notice it, right? So we've got incoming solar radiation. The insolation is short wave. The radiation that is re-emitted by the Earth, that is re-radiated, is longer wavelength. This is actually infrared. It gets re-emitted as infrared radiation. Now, infrared is what we essentially feel as heat. When you go outside on a nice hot sunny day, actually let's put you in there. Here you are. You're outside on a nice hot sunny day. That the heat you feel beating down on your skin, that's actually infrared, because the sun isn't just emitting one type of the EM spectrum. It's emitting all types of the EM spectrum, including the infrared radiation, right? And so we feel that as heat. So the Earth re-radiates energy as essentially heat energy, right? This infrared radiation. The thing is, that infrared radiation, let's re-radiate some from our greenhouse. So let's go longer wavelength, remember? Here it is, longer wavelength. And it has trouble getting through the glass. So some of it will make it through, sure, but some of it won't. Some of it will be stuck in the glass house. Now remember, that's infrared, which is essentially heat. So the greenhouse, and I've used the words interchangeably, haven't I? Greenhouse, glasshouse, same. The greenhouse warms up because some of that radiation that is re-radiated from the soil and everything in the, which word am I going to go with? The greenhouse, that actually gets trapped in the greenhouse. It finds it hard to get out through the glass. So the greenhouse warms up, and plants like growing in nice warm places. So let's grow our plants in the greenhouse. Okay, it's good for growing plants. That's why. That's the greenhouse effect. That's why it warms up. Now, how this applies to the Earth, let's just make some space to draw in an atmosphere. Here is an atmosphere. There we go. So now this atmosphere has got lots of stuff in it. It is, of course, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% other stuff. Now, the other stuff includes things like argon gas and water vapor and CO2 gas, a whole heap of other things, right, in that 1% remaining after the nitrogen and oxygen. So what happens is some of these gases are referred to as greenhouse gases. CO2, carbon dioxide, is a greenhouse gas, but there are others, because CH4, methane, is a greenhouse gas. And guess what? H2O, water vapor, is actually a greenhouse gas. So there are actually lots of different greenhouse gases, right? We go on about CO2, being the bad one. Oh my goodness, it's a greenhouse gas. There are others worse. Like methane is nearly 20 times worse of a greenhouse gas than CO2. But it's CO2 that we go on about because that's the one that we're pumping up into the atmosphere through burning of fossil fuels, which has, of course, led to the climate changing. Now, right, so back to the atmosphere. They've got these greenhouse gases. They have the effect, which is very similar to the glass of a greenhouse, right? They have the effect of making it hard for that infrared radiation that was re-radiated from Earth. It's hard for that to escape back to space. So some of it will be re-radiated back to space. Grand. That's terrific. That's what we want. But some of it won't. Some of it will stay in the Earth system. All right. So the Earth is now going to do what the greenhouse did before. What was that? Warm up. So that's the greenhouse effect. It's literally named after what goes on in an actual greenhouse or glasshouse, okay? But it's also happening with the Earth. If you think of the atmosphere as being like the glass of the greenhouse, and it's hard for that re-radiated infrared energy, that heat energy, to escape through the glass. Well, it's harder for it to escape through the atmosphere with the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Okay, so as we build up the greenhouse gases, and of course what we're doing is building up the CO2, we're getting lots and lots more of that, then it's harder and harder for that infrared radiation, that heat that was re-radiated from the Earth, it's harder for it to escape from the Earth. So what we have now is we have less energy being re-radiated back out to space than was incoming from the sun. Okay, so if you get a certain amount of energy coming in, if you don't radiate the same amount of energy back out to space, you're going to heat up. And that is exactly what is happening with the Earth. That is global warming. And that is the greenhouse effect in a nutshell.
Hey you, hit the like button. Yeah, and the subscribe one too. Yay!